morning. How are y'all today? Uh, so, in kind of rolling on with one of my last topics, which was about relationship issues, let me just say off the bat, I don't want to do couples therapy. Never had. When I was going through school, they asked the different types of therapy you would want to do, clients you would want to work with, so that you understand who what you favor, what you may understand better, and also who you don't want to work with, because you have to be aware of your unconscious bias. Well, this is a conscious bias. I don't like doing couples therapy. Never have. Uh, you know, and it may have something to do with my early history of couples issues. That's a story for another day. But I just say that no, I don't like to do it. I run from it like the plague. And just like the plague, it finds a way to creep in. You cannot get away from it, because relationships is a part of everything. One of the problems, though, that usually comes up is many of the couples therapy or marriage therapy or those type of situations ends up being around infidelity. And that's a tough one. Uh, I had a question that came up during a session one time, and I had to think through it for a second and pull on everything else I knew. The question was for the person who had committed the infidelity. The other person was very upset and angry, and I was surprised that the person who felt wronged, who was cheated on, that they didn't ask the question, but actually the other person said is, well, will it ever get to a point where this isn't a problem or an issue? Will it ever get to where we don't have this problem? And my first instinct had to be overrode by my clinician instincts, because my first instinct was, hell no. but but see, that's my own thoughts on the subject. And I have to take me and put me aside and then put y'all in the chair and go, I'm working with y'all. And that means that you are trying to repair a relationship in which one of y'all has committed infidelity, one of y'all has cheated on the other. Uh, there's different kinds, and layers of cheating, and everyone sees it different. So, for this video, we'll just say, being unfaithful in general. Somebody, you know, made a distinction once between emotional and physical and all that. I'm just, for this one, let's just go with the idea that they're being unfaithful, period. We'll handle the rest later. So the question is will it get better? And my explanation is I think this is also one of those situations that is very akin to grief. In other words, if somebody got up and told me, that someone close to them had passed away, they had a major loss in their life, and you get asked, well, will it ever get better? Many people want to rush in and tell you, oh yes, it's going to get better over time, because that's what they want to feel. And some people will tell you, no, you'll carry this around with you forever. I say a lot of it has to do with your nature. It has to do with what's happened to you in your past, your feelings about infidelity and cheating and stuff like that. It has a lot to do with also the idea that, much like grief from death, it is a loss that everyone handles differently. There are the stages of grief, and I kind of like that. Kubler-Ross's stages of grief. If you look that up, you'll be able to see how when someone, it says when something happens that's tragic, and it's not just death. It could be you having an illness or a terminal illness or a severe, change in your life. Something is taken from you. You go through these stages where you have different things occurring. At some point, you might be in denial, not wanting to believe it. And then you may jump to anger and rage that it happened. Then you go back and have some more doubts. And then you start, bargaining, trying to make it go away. And, at some point, if you get to that level, you might start to find some acceptance. I also know, though, that no matter how you do with the loss of somebody or something, you will get to a point where things happen. And I always talk to my clients who've had a severe loss, a tragic incident in their life, and I prepare them for the upcoming dates, the anniversary dates, the birthdays, the holidays. Those things tend to spark high emotional feelings in people depending upon their history. So again, if someone has cheated on you and you may build your relationship to a point where it's better, it's not going to be perfect and go away. You're going to have to be aware that there was a loss, and over time with work, the pain can diminish. The pain can become less. The memory can reduce and not be as strong. The thing is, though, is you both have to be prepared for when you have flare-ups, much like grief, the anniversary of the event, bumping into the person that person was actually with. That happens. Or seeing someone that looks like them, or you take it personal. And this is where it again, I think it parallels the idea that if somebody passes away that you're close to, you have a combination of thoughts in your head. One, could I have done anything different? So you end up taking blame on yourself for something else that wasn't under your control, believing that, maybe you should have done something different. And then at the same time, you have anger at that person that passed away for leaving you, and you have anger at that person who was cheating. And those flare ups occur because memories get hit. And when they do, the emotions come out. One of the things that makes memories more potent is having an emotion tied to that memory. And it makes that memory very strong and locked in. So, does it get better? I would like to hope it gets better. Will it ever completely go away? My thought is probably not totally. I mean, as a human, we are bound to have lessons ingrained in our brain that we remember so that we don't do those things again. So we don't always, forget those important things, even the bad things. So, and I think one of the questions that was asked about, wanting, when I said specifically, what do you mean getting, where it will it ever totally go away? They were wanting to totally forget it, or the person was wanting to totally basically, get to a point where their partner wouldn't throw it back at them. Because that's often what happens in those situations is, every fight, every argument gets topped off with, and you cheated. The argument could start over which way the toilet paper's coming off the roll, and it may end with, and you cheated. Because people will often turn to what they need to win an argument, so they pull that back in. So this is where I encourage you to take stock in basically making sure that the things that you disagree on, you contain and disagree on that. Money, how to raise the kids, the bedroom, all these different places, keep them contained, because if you let them spill over, then everything becomes enmeshed to a point that you can't fix any problem, because all problems become one big, huge problem. And you have to pull those things apart and deal with them individually. Now, again, I'm very much the kind of person who believes in patterns. It is highly possible that one pattern here transfers to a pattern there. But what I'm talking about is that punishment principle, that you let things spill over. And it's the same way with grief. Again, these keep tying back in. Your loss of a loved one, if you let that creep over and you start having issues with your work, you start having issues with your relationship, which is highly possible, then you've let that spill over and you hadn't been able to work on putting things together, putting your feelings in a place that you can work on them and working through this problem. So to me, there's that parallel because it is grief. When someone does that to you, you feel a loss of trust, which runs very deep for some people. And that loss is in its own way equivalent to losing a person. And so back to the question, does it ever totally go away? Um, you know, shake the 8 ball and it comes up, not likely, but check again later. And I'm not sure that it totally going away is going to make your relationship better. You need to go back and handle what you did to put you in a situation where you did that in the beginning. What kind of relationship do y'all have? And if you're the person who was doing the cheating, what brought you to that point, and take responsibility for it. And as a relationship, both of y'all have to commit to working on the relationship to get it back to where it's at. Same way as if you have a loss, you have to work on working through the grief and finding out how you feel about things so that some point you can get to a level of where you can deal with it or not. Okay. I know that's kind of a jumbled up answer, but to me, it's one of those jumbled up problems. Every person is different. So if that has happened to you, I wish you the best success in working through it and dealing with it. And I understand your loss is very personal, and that's why I compare it very much to grief. Okay. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.